The sun dipped below the jagged skyline of New Haven, casting long shadows that danced across the cracked pavement. Ilara Voss crouched behind a crumbling wall, her breath hitching in her throat as the distant hum of alien ships reverberated through the air. The once bustling city had transformed into a ghost town, its inhabitants paralyzed by fear. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, a palpable tension that crackled like static electricity. "Did you see that?" whispered a voice beside her. It was Marcus, her childhood friend, now a wiry figure with wide eyes that reflected the chaos around them. "They're really here." Ilara nodded, her heart racing. "We have to warn the others. If they're coming for the children, we can't let them take anyone." She peered around the wall, her mind racing with the implications of the Xelthar's arrival. The stories had always been dismissed as myths, tales of ancient encounters and lost technology, but now they were real, and the stakes had never been higher. The first ship, a sleek, metallic behemoth, descended from the clouds, its surface glinting ominously in the fading light. It hovered silently, casting a shadow over the remnants of a playground where laughter had once echoed. Ilara's stomach twisted at the sight. Children had played there, innocent and unaware of the darkness that loomed above them. "Look." Marcus pointed, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're broadcasting something." Ilara squinted, focusing on the ship's underside, where a holographic projection flickered to life. A figure materialized, tall and imposing, with skin that shimmered like polished obsidian. The Xelthar commander, Xerek, had arrived. His voice boomed through the air, resonating with an authority that sent shivers down Ilara's spine. "People of Earth," Xerek declared, his tone cold and commanding. "You have ignored our warnings for centuries. Your ignorance has consequences. We demand tribute, your children. Surrender them, or face annihilation." A murmur rippled through the crowd that had gathered, a mix of disbelief and terror. Ilara's heart sank. The Xelthar had always been a threat, but this was a declaration of war. She turned to Marcus, her mind racing. "We can't let this happen. We need to find a way to fight back." "Fight back?" Marcus echoed, his voice trembling. "What can we do against them? They have technology we can't even comprehend." "We can't just give in," Ilara insisted, her resolve hardening. "There has to be a way to stop them. We need to gather information, find allies. If we can understand their technology, maybe we can turn it against them." Marcus hesitated, glancing back at the hovering ship. "And if we fail? What if they take our families?" Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "We won't fail. We can't. Not this time." As the hologram flickered and Xerek's image faded, the crowd erupted into chaos. People screamed, some ran, while others stood frozen in shock. Ilara felt a surge of determination. She had spent years studying astrobiology, piecing together fragments of humanity's past with the Xelthar. Now, it was time to put that knowledge to use. "Come on," she urged Marcus, pulling him away from the wall. "We need to get to the archives. There's information there that could help us." They navigated through the debris-strewn streets, the remnants of a world that had once thrived. Ilara's mind raced with memories of her childhood, of days spent exploring the city with Marcus, of dreams of space travel and the mysteries of the universe. Now, those dreams felt like a cruel joke, overshadowed by the reality of an alien threat. As they approached the old library, a sense of urgency propelled them forward. The building loomed ahead, its once grand facade now marred by time and neglect. Ilara pushed open the heavy door, the creak echoing in the silence. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light that filtered through the grimy windows. "Stay close," she whispered, scanning the dimly lit interior. Rows of books lined the shelves, their spines cracked and faded. This place had been a sanctuary of knowledge, a repository of humanity's history. If there was any hope of understanding the Xelthar, it lay within these walls. They made their way to the restricted section, where the most sensitive materials were stored. Ilara's heart raced as she rifled through the stacks, searching for anything that might provide insight into the Xelthar's technology or their past interactions with humanity. "Here!" she exclaimed, pulling out a dusty tome. The musty scent of old paper filled the air as Elara flipped through the pages of the ancient tome, her fingers trembling with anticipation. The book, titled Chronicles of the Celestial Encounters, was a relic from a time when humanity had dared to dream of the stars. Each page was a window into a past that had been buried under layers of denial and fear. "Look at this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It describes a meeting between our ancestors and the Xelthar. They were here before, long ago." Marcus leaned closer, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What does it say? Did they come in peace?" Elara scanned the text, her heart racing. "It's complicated. They offered advanced technology in exchange for resources, but there was a catch. They demanded tribute, specifically, children. It seems they believed that human youth held some kind of power." "Power?" Marcus echoed, skepticism lacing his tone. "What kind of power could children possibly have?" "I don't know," Elara admitted, frustration creeping into her voice. "But it's clear that our ancestors didn't fully understand the implications. They accepted the deal, and it led to disaster. The Xelthar took what they wanted and left chaos in their wake." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, his expression a mix of disbelief and fear. "So, this isn't just a new threat. It's a cycle. They've been doing this for centuries." "Yes," Elara replied, her mind racing. "And if we don't break the cycle now, we could lose everything. We need to find a way to stop them." As she continued to read, a sense of urgency washed over her. The accounts detailed not only the Xelthar's demands but also the technology they had left behind. Devices that could manipulate energy, enhance human capabilities, and even alter perceptions. If they could harness this knowledge, perhaps they could turn the tide. "Here!" Elara exclaimed, pointing to a diagram of a device that resembled a small orb. "This is a power core. It's said to amplify energy signatures. If we can find one of these, we might be able to use it against the Xelthar." Marcus's eyes widened. "But how do we even know if any of this is real? It could all be myth." Elara closed the book with a determined snap. "Myths often hold a kernel of truth. We have to investigate. There's a chance that some of this technology is still hidden away, waiting to be discovered." "Where do we even start?" Marcus asked, glancing around the dimly lit library as if expecting answers to emerge from the shadows. "There's an old research facility on the outskirts of the city," Elara said, recalling the stories she had heard as a child. "It was abandoned after the last Xelthar encounter, but it's rumored to house remnants of their technology. If we can get there, we might find what we need." "Sounds dangerous," Marcus replied, his voice tinged with apprehension. "What if the Xelthar are already there?" "Then we'll have to be quick and smart," Elara said, her resolve hardening. "We can't let fear paralyze us. We have to act before it's too late." With a shared sense of purpose, they left the library, the weight of the tome heavy in Elara's bag. The streets outside were eerily quiet, the chaos of earlier replaced by an unsettling calm. As they made their way toward the facility, Elara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "Do you think anyone else knows about the Xelthar's demands?" Marcus asked, glancing over his shoulder. "Some might," Elara replied, her mind racing. "But most people are too afraid to confront the truth. They'd rather bury their heads in the sand than face the reality of what's happening." As they approached the outskirts of the city, the landscape shifted from urban decay to overgrown fields. The facility loomed ahead, a crumbling structure that had once been a hub of scientific innovation. Vines snaked up its walls, reclaiming what humanity had abandoned. "Here it is," Elara said, her heart pounding. "This is where they conducted experiments on the technology they acquired from the Xelthar." They stepped through the rusted gates, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of darkened hallways and shattered glass. Elara's pulse quickened as they navigated the debris, her mind racing with possibilities. "Do you hear that?" Marcus whispered, halting in his tracks. Elara strained to listen, her senses heightened. A low hum resonated through the walls, a sound that felt both foreign and familiar. The low hum intensified as Elara and Marcus ventured deeper into the facility, the sound reverberating through the hollow corridors like a heartbeat. Shadows danced along the walls, and the air grew thick with dust, remnants of a time when this place had been alive with innovation and discovery. Elara's heart raced, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through her veins. "Do you think anyone else is here?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He glanced around, his eyes wide with apprehension. "I don't know," Elara replied, her gaze fixed ahead. "But we need to keep moving. If there's any chance of finding the technology we need, we can't waste time." They passed through a doorway marked with faded symbols, remnants of a language that had long since fallen out of use. Inside, the room was cluttered with broken equipment and scattered papers, a chaotic testament to the facility's abrupt abandonment. Elara stepped cautiously over a tangle of wires, her eyes scanning the room for anything useful. "Look at this," she said, kneeling beside a console that still flickered with a faint blue light. "It might still be operational." Marcus joined her, peering at the screen. "What does it say?" Elara brushed away the dust, revealing a series of diagrams and data logs. These appear to be research notes on the Xelthar technology. They were trying to reverse engineer it. Her fingers danced over the controls, and the screen brightened, displaying a series of schematics. "This could be it, the power core we read about." "Can you activate it?" Marcus asked, his voice tinged with hope. "I'll try," Elara replied, her heart pounding as she navigated the interface. The screen flickered, and a series of prompts appeared, each more complex than the last. "I need to bypass the security protocols. If I can just—" Suddenly, the hum escalated into a deafening roar, and the lights flickered violently. Elara's heart raced as she fought to maintain her focus. "I think I'm close. Just a little more." With a final keystroke, the console emitted a sharp beep, and the screen displayed a glowing orb, pulsing with energy. "Yes. I did it!" Elara exclaimed, a rush of triumph flooding her. "Is that it?" Marcus asked, his eyes wide with awe. "Can we take it?" Elara nodded, her excitement tempered by caution. "We need to be careful. If the Xelthar are monitoring this facility, they'll know we're here." As she reached for the orb, a sudden crash echoed through the hallways, sending a jolt of fear through them both. "What was that?" Marcus whispered, his voice trembling. "Stay low," Elara instructed, her instincts kicking in. They ducked behind the console, hearts racing as footsteps approached, heavy and deliberate. The sound reverberated through the room, growing louder with each passing second. "Do you think it's them?" Marcus asked, his eyes darting toward the door. "I don't know," Elara replied, her mind racing. "But we can't let them find us." The footsteps stopped just outside the door, and a moment later, it swung open with a creak. A figure stepped inside, clad in dark armor that glinted under the flickering lights. It was a Xelthar soldier, tall and imposing, scanning the room with piercing eyes. Elara held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel the weight of the orb in her hand, a tangible reminder of their mission. If they were discovered now, everything would be lost. The soldier moved cautiously, inspecting the debris scattered across the floor. Elara exchanged a glance with Marcus, silently urging him to remain still. The tension in the air was palpable, a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. "Where are you?" the soldier's voice echoed, a low growl that sent chills down Elara's spine. "I know you're here." Elara's mind raced. They had to act quickly. "We need to create a distraction," she whispered to Marcus. "Can you find something to throw?" He nodded, scanning the room for anything that could help. His eyes landed on a broken piece of machinery, and he picked it up, his grip tightening. "On 3, he mouthed. 1, 2, 3. Elara whispered, and Marcus hurled the object across the room. It crashed against the far wall, sending a shower of sparks into the air. The soldier whirled around, drawn to the noise. "Show yourself," he barked, moving toward the source of the sound. "Now," Elara urged, and they bolted for the door, adrenaline propelling them forward. They slipped, Elara and Marcus sprinted down the dimly lit corridor, their footsteps echoing against the cold concrete walls. The adrenaline coursed through Elara's veins, heightening her senses as they navigated the maze of the facility. Behind them, the Xelthar soldier shouted, his voice a menacing growl that urged them to run faster. "Where do we go now?" Marcus gasped, glancing over his shoulder. The sound of heavy boots thudded closer, and panic surged within him. "Keep moving," Elara urged, her mind racing. "We need to find an exit before they catch up." They rounded a corner, and Elara's heart sank as she spotted a locked door at the end of the hallway. "There," she pointed, desperation creeping into her voice. "If we can get through that door, we might find a way out." Marcus reached the door first, his hands trembling as he fumbled with the control panel. "It's locked. I can't get it open." "Let me try." Elara pushed him aside, her fingers flying over the interface. She remembered the security protocols from the console earlier and focused on bypassing the lock. The hum of the facility seemed to grow louder, a reminder of the danger closing in on them. Come on," she muttered, her heart racing as she worked. The door's light flickered, and she felt a surge of hope. "Almost there." Behind them, the soldier's voice boomed, "You can't escape. Surrender now, and I promise you will not be harmed." "Yeah, right," Marcus muttered, his eyes wide with fear. "Like we're going to trust them." With a final keystroke, the door clicked open, and Elara pushed it wide, revealing a darkened room filled with old equipment and crates. "In here!" she shouted, pulling Marcus inside just as the soldier rounded the corner. They ducked behind a stack of crates, their breaths coming in quick gasps. The soldier paused at the door, scanning the room with a predatory gaze. "You think hiding will save you?" he taunted, stepping further inside. "You are outnumbered and outmatched." Elara's mind raced. They had to act quickly. "We need to find something to defend ourselves," she whispered to Marcus, her eyes darting around the room. "Look for anything we can use." Marcus nodded, his expression grim. "I'll check over there." He moved toward a pile of discarded equipment, rummaging through the debris. Elara focused on the soldier, who was now inspecting the crates, his movements deliberate. She could see the glint of his weapon, a sleek, menacing design that sent a chill down her spine. They had to find a way to turn the tables. "Got something!" Marcus exclaimed, holding up a metal rod that looked like it had once been part of a larger machine. "It's not much, but it'll have to do." "Good," Elara said, taking the rod from him. "We'll have to be quick and precise. If we can catch him off guard, we might stand a chance." The soldier continued to search, his back turned to them. Elara exchanged a glance with Marcus, and they both nodded, a silent agreement forming between them. This was their moment. "On three," Elara whispered, gripping the rod tightly. 1, 2, 3. They lunged from behind the crates, catching the soldier by surprise. Elara swung the rod with all her strength, connecting with the soldier's side. He staggered, momentarily disoriented, and Marcus followed up with a swift kick to his knee. The soldier growled in pain, but he quickly regained his footing, his eyes narrowing as he focused on them. "You will pay for that," he snarled, raising his weapon. "Run!" Elara shouted, and they dashed toward the door at the far end of the room. The soldier fired, the energy blast narrowly missing Elara as she ducked just in time. They burst through the door, finding themselves in a narrow hallway lined with flickering lights. "This way," Elara urged, leading Marcus down the corridor. They could hear the soldier's footsteps pounding behind them, relentless and unforgiving. "Where are we going?" Marcus panted, glancing back nervously. "I don't know," Elara admitted, her mind racing. "We just need to find a way out." They turned a corner and skidded to a halt. Ahead of them lay a large bay door, partially open, revealing the outside world bathed in the eerie glow of the setting sun. "There," Elara pointed, hope igniting within her. As they sprinted toward the door, the soldier's voice echoed behind them. "You cannot escape. You will be